Yeah.
I'm not going to be able to meet this week, Susan. I've got several meetings that I am including the public relations 2 hours of meeting with some folks. Wednesday the 23rd.
Oh, wait a minute. That's not
Yeah. Everything should be.
So it doesn't happen.
Yeah. Okay.
We've got
Let's see if they're ready. I guess they're not quite.
Good morning. Welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Church of Spokane, where our mission is to join together to create a nourishing, liberal religious home and to champion justice, diversity, and environmental stewardship in our wider world. Or as we say, I see somebody over there actually mouthing it, and it's like I saw my voice coming out of your mouth. That was just amazing, Kelsey. I'm really throwing my voice far these days, right? So, or as we say in short, to create community, find meaning, and work for justice. Welcome to one and all. I want to begin, as always, by welcoming you to this space, welcoming all that you bring with you, all of your uniqueness, your unique beliefs, background, lifestyle, experiences, differences, everything that helps make you who you are is welcome here this morning. And this, as always, includes those who hear me say this each Sunday, as well as those who might be joining us for the first time and those who are streaming with us today, too. We're also glad to know that you're here. And I apologize if during the second service last Sunday there was no audio. So I'm really apologize for that, but I've heard from several, maybe there wasn't. So I hope you can hear us well today. So I'm sure you can. Todd's on the job back there. And anybody with a name like Todd. So before we take a few moments to greet one another, I do want to make a few announcements here. One from our board, the Healthy Congregations focus groups schedule is in the back for the weekend of October 25th through 27th. It's a process that will help us look at our history and our structures, what we're doing well, and what we might want to do differently. We hope that each of you will sign up for one of these focus groups, so you can do that in the back. Also, we're still looking for additional teachers for our religious education program this fall. Requires about an hour of your time twice a month, not a big commitment. From now till about January, or through January, I should say, and you can also sign up for specific dates at the table in the Friendship Hall. There's also a sign-up sheet for those who might be interested in doing some of our storytelling during our services. We'd love to increase the number of storytellers, so if that's something you've been thinking of doing, or not been thinking of doing, do it anyway. So that would be great. And then also wanting, if you haven't signed your 6th through 12th year olds up for OWL classes, our whole lives, age-appropriate sexual education, you can also do that in the back, or contact our RE office, I should say. And I also want to give a very special welcome to the Reverend Linda Wittenberg, who is here with us today. Linda is one of our, here she is, and Bob's here with her. It's always great to have both of you visiting, and for those who haven't met Linda, Linda is one of our past beloved ministers here at the Unitarian Universalist Church of Spokane, and accomplished quite a lot, including a major move into this building. And I got to tell you, those of us in ministry know that that is a really hard thing to do, and I thank you for doing that for me. It's great to have you. Yep. Bob, good to see you. Okay, this is also our annual community auction kickoff, in which we're going to have a luncheon, and the items that folks have donated will be revealed for you to start bidding on. I want to thank everyone who helped organize it this year, as well as everyone who contributed something for the auction, as well as those of you who are now going to bid like crazy on different items to help this be a very successful fundraiser, but also what a fun way for us to build community amongst ourselves. And as part of that luncheon that is going to take place today, there will be a dessert silent bidding that's going to open during the potluck, and you won't actually have to have a bid number for this. So everybody can participate in that, and you can get your bid number, I think, in the back as well. Or maybe they're on a board over there with your names. I don't know. Is that right? That's the bid numbers? Several places. So just everywhere you turn, there is the face of your bid number, to paraphrase the Quran. Okay. Yeah, that was to paraphrase the Quran, yeah. Blasphemy. Let's take a few moments to, you weren't moving your lips on that one, Kelsey, were you? Yeah, you didn't see it coming. You didn't see it coming. Okay, let's take a few moments to greet one another now, and as always, I hope you'll say hi to some new friends today. All right, well, there'll be more opportunity to visit with one another during our social hour, especially today on such a momentous occasion. So I hope you'll stay around for that. But let's move forward with our service now by lighting our chalice, the symbol of our faith, the symbol of our unity and our solidarity, of our openness and our inclusion, of our community and our individual uniqueness. May this small flame be our offering of warmth to those who are cold and alone, and a light to those in darkness. May it be a flame that ignites justice in our world, and a beacon of hope to those in need, and may it reflect at least a spark of truth wherever truth has been lost, and cast a healthy shadow of doubt wherever it's been found.
Our opening reading is by Gretchen Haley. What's going to happen? Will everything be okay? What can I do? In these days, we find ourselves too often stuck with these questions on repeat. What's going to happen? Will everything be okay? What can I do? We grasp at signs and markers, articles of news and analysis, Facebook memes, and forwarded emails, as if the new zodiac, capable of forecasting all that life may yet bring our way, as if we could prepare, as if life had ever made any promises of making sense or turning out the way we'd thought, as if we are not also actors in this still unfolding story for this hour to gather. This unfolding story, period. For this hour we gather to surrender to the mystery, to release ourselves from the needing to know, the yearning to have it all figured out, and also the burden of believing we either have all the control or none. Here in our song and our silence, our stories and our sharing, we make space for a new breath, a new healing, a new possibility. Come, let us worship together.
Well, there's a distant kind of echoing answer to that beautiful reading in our first hymn in the service. It's called "'Tis a Gift to Be Simple." It's an 18th century Shaker hymn. Please rise, embody your spirit to sing it twice through. Tis a gift to be simple, tis a gift to be free, tis a gift to come down where we ought to be. And when we find ourselves in the place just right, we'll be in the valley of love and delight. When true simplicity is gained, to bow and to bend we shan't be ashamed. To turn, we'll be. Tis a gift to be simple, tis a gift to be free, tis a gift to come down where we ought to be. And when we find ourselves in the place just right, we'll be in the valley of love and delight. When true simplicity is gained, to bow and to bend we shan't be ashamed. To turn, we'll be.
It is time for our story for all ages. So if anyone would like to come forward for our story, that would be great. Hey guys, how you doing? You good? Good. There you are. And you got a thumb. I got a thumbs up from you too. Good. Come on up. Come on up. So let me ask you, do I have 4 of you that can read pretty good? 1, 2 readers. Who wants to put you on the spot? Okay, would you two be volunteers to do a brief puppet show? Help me do a brief puppet show? All you have to do is read one line, and I'll give it to you, okay? So if you're comfortable reading, step up here to the stage. Good. Thank you. Or walk up on your knees, do penance. I don't know what you did, but your sins are absolved. Okay? So I need 2 more volunteers who are comfortable reading. Anybody from the audience of any age, because it's a story for all ages. Anybody? Yes, Sue, come up, please. Oh, great, great. All right, Dominique, I thought you were going to come read. There we go. Well, you'll just have to get in line and wait. I'm not going to give you the inside scoop. No, this is going to be easy. So this is going to be a puppet show. Yep. Are you going to be a reader for us? You want to be a reader, or you want to join? Or yeah. Okay. Here we go. All right, who wants to? I'll let you guys choose first. Which animal would you like? The doggies? Okay. Squirrel. Doesn't surprise me. Who wants to be the butterfly? Can you be the butterfly? Okay, you just have to put your finger in there. Right in there. Good. You're the raven. Okay. So, do you mind standing up for this, or we'll let you get back down when you're done. Okay? Just a few minutes. Okay. Let's see. Raven, squirrel, butterfly. I'm going to give that to you. And someone may help read with that. Read that one. Oh, here we go. Dog. All right. Unfortunately, we've run out of time to do the children's story because it took me so long to make that happen. Okay, so you'll know when I talk to you to read your piece and let your puppet come to life in whatever way that you want. Okay. All right. Everybody knows my friend Purple. Hello. Good to see you, Purple. Welcome back. What a coincidence. We both dressed in lots of purple today. Yes, that's right. Okay, so anyway, you were just here a couple of weeks ago, and it's good to have you back so soon because everybody likes having Purple. Purple, you do seem a little bit distracted. What's going on? I've lost my way. You've lost your way? Well, how do you know that you lost your way here at church? Because it was during one of your sermons. Well, I feel a little bit responsible now, so maybe we should help Purple find his way. What does your way look like? I'm not sure that I'll know it when I see it. Okay, well, that's not real helpful. Let's see, maybe some of us, there's a lot of us, we can kind of look around and see. Anybody see Purple's way out there? How about you, Raven? Did you find a way?
My way is resting in the shade on a hot afternoon, sitting quietly in the trees, and always looking down to find something good to eat.
What do you say, Purple? Does that sound like your way? No, it sounds pretty relaxing, but it's just not my way. Well, we definitely want to do it your way, so let's see. How about you, Squirrel? Did you happen to find a way?
My way is growing entire forests by simply planting small seeds one at a time.
Wow, planting entire forest one seed at a time. Does that sound like maybe that's your way? No, it sounds like a pretty good way, but it's not my way. Okay, well, let's see. Who else do we... Oh, there's a puppy dog over there. What do What do you say, puppy dog? What way do you have?
My way is wagging my tail, chasing cats, playing with everything I find, and jumping on everyone I meet.
Oh, what do you think, Purple? Is that your way? No, but it sure sounds fun. Yes, it does. Okay, let's see. Well, oh, how about you, Butterfly? Did you find a way? It's a very beautiful way. What do you think, Purple? No, but it does sound beautiful. Okay, well, I don't know what we're going to do. You haven't found your way out of all these tries yet. But you know what? Maybe you don't have to find just one way, Purple. That's kind of the great thing about being a Unitarian Universalist, is there's lots of ways. There's a resting way, and there's a creative way, and there's a playful way, and there's a beautiful way. There's all sorts of ways, and you don't have to just settle for one. You can look and discover and find lots of ways here at the Unitarian Universalist Church. I think I just found my way. What is it? Every way. Every way. That sounds great. Well, I'm glad that you found it here. We really have run out of time. Thanks to our special puppeteers for your extraordinary help. And we are going to have to let you go because I have a sermon to preach in a little bit. Oh, no. Thank you, and we are now going to I don't have the words. Do you have the words for it?
I do.
I know we're going to light the children's chalice with our fire, which is very symbolic of them taking a little bit of light with them. So I'm going to leave it at that today. We'll see you guys later.
We now gratefully give and receive this morning's offering, which sustains this community and its mission to the larger world.
Thanks again, Larissa. It's always such a treat to have you here. Appreciate it. We're now going to kindle our candles of care for those who are most on our thoughts and minds this morning. I've not received any specific requests for candles, so let's move right into a moment of silence on behalf of those you might be thinking of. And as always, you're welcome to name them aloud at this time if you'd like. Those named aloud and those embraced in our silence, and all those who are suffering in our world at this hour, we hold in our community with compassion.
We gather here to wonder at the mystery that gave us birth, to find courage for the journey's end, and to listen to the wisdom that guides us in the quietness of this moment. For our reading today, I'm going to invite you to turn to the back of the gray hymnal to number 655. For a responsive reading, number 655 in the back of the gray hymnal. It's kind of a brief reading, so I'll go ahead and start and ask the entire congregation to be our respondents today. Whosoever wishes to know about the world must learn about it in its particular details. In searching for the truth, be ready for the unexpected. The same road goes both up and down. Not I, but the world says, all is one.
a gift. Thank you so much. So I'm going to mention an obscure movie most of you have probably never seen called National Lampoon's Vacation. You familiar with this? So the Griswolds are on a cross-country trip to visit Wally World, a fictional family theme park, in part to help recreate one of Clark Griswold's favorite childhood memories for his own kids. But they routinely encounter one terrible problem after another, like forgetting they tied a hitchhiker's dog to the back of the car before taking off. Yeah, it's like, is this a comedy? Seriously? The death of Aunt Edna, whose body they wrap in a tarp and strap atop the station wagon, and a car crash that leaves them stranded in the desert. And it sounds like a really terrible trip, but somehow it's pretty funny to watch. I don't want to be in the car anymore, their daughter Audrey finally protests. I want to go home. I don't want to go to Wally World. Ellen Griswold agrees. Clark, under the circumstances, I wouldn't mind if we just went home. In retrospect, it seems like a pretty bad idea driving out. It's been one disaster after another. Yeah, it's been a real drag, Dad, Rusty chimes in. Maybe we can try it another time. Wally World's overrated anyway. Leaving out the expletives, Clark responds, I think you're all crazy. We're 10 hours from the fun park and you want to bail out. Well, I'll tell you something. This is no longer a vacation, it's a quest. It's a quest for fun. I'm going to have fun and you're going to have fun. We're all going to have so much fun we'll have to have plastic surgery to remove our smiles. Vacation demonstrates what I want us to consider today, the importance of set and setting. Set is shorthand for mindset. Clark Griswold maintains a positive mindset throughout most of the trip, even though the rest of the family increasingly hates every minute of it. They're all on the same trip, yet experience it differently because of their different mindsets. In her book, Mindset, The New Psychology of Success, Stanford psychologist Carol Dweck begins by discussing an unexpected mindset she discovered while observing children responding positively to failure. Not only weren't they discouraged by failure, Dweck says, they didn't even think they were failing. They thought they were learning. Isn't learning another word for failure? Or vice versa? Confronted with hard puzzles, she says, one 10-year-old boy pulled up his chair, rubbed his hands together, smacked his lips, and cried out, I love a challenge. Another, sweating away on these puzzles, looked up with a pleased expression and said with authority, you know, I was hoping this was going to be informative. Other kids might have experienced the same difficulties entirely differently. They may have been anxious about getting them right, or frustrated, or bored. The difference between a good trip and a bad trip has a lot to do with internal factors, like attitudes and intentions, more so than what's happening around us. Clark Griswold is nostalgic about his past, eager to share something similar with his kids, and is so excited he'd go through hell to reach his goal. The rest of the family, on the other hand, could care less about Wally World and seem to be just going along for the ride. Their hearts aren't in it, so they're more easily unsettled by all the negativity happening around them. I went to Bellingham, for example, recently to help my daughter install a new floor in her bedroom, during which we laughed because we'd spent more time together in Lowe's home center 5 trips altogether than we had her entire life. It was funny. A lot of you are laughing because you also know what it is to take kids to the home store. Well, I've always enjoyed going to stores like Lowe's and Home Depot, sometimes for no purpose other than just looking around. My daughter, on the other hand, dreaded going with me to the home store, groaning whenever I made up an impromptu excuse to stop there, knowing that I would probably stay much longer than necessary. Sometimes when she's home visiting and we're scrambling for something fun to do, I make the same bad dad joke. We could always go to Home Depot. To which she scoffs, ha ha. But this time she didn't mind. In fact, she didn't think twice about all those trips back and forth to Lowe's until I pointed out she'd spent more time there in one day than she had her entire life. She didn't even seem to mind when I ended up in a lengthy conversation with a perfect stranger. Her mindset made the difference. She was driven by her desire to remove that old stinky carpet from her new room and was enjoying learning to lay her own floor. Like Clark Griswold, she was willing to go through the trouble of achieving her goal, even if it meant going to Lowe's with Dad. Same trip, different mindset. Mindset makes a difference. But in fairness to all the kids annoyed by fathers who get lost in the hardware amusement park, setting also makes a big difference between having a good trip and a bad trip. If set has to do with one's own intentions and attitude, one's internal intentions and attitude, setting has to do with the external circumstances and surroundings that we find or put ourselves in. The Griswolds' vacation may have been doomed from the start for this very reason. Ellen wanted to fly, but Clark insisted driving would be a bonding experience. In fact, he's purchased a new luxury car just for the occasion, but when he arrives to pick it up, he learns that it won't be in for several more weeks. Instead, the family has no choice but to settle for a Wagon Queen family truckster. It's a fictional vehicle, and it's a grotesque, oversized station wagon. Rather than taking that quick, easy flight or setting off in the lap of luxury, the Griswolds are riding within a metallic pea, essentially, pea-colored eyesore. It's an apt metaphor for what is to become their entire trip. It's also a good metaphor for life. Sometimes we end up in circumstances and surroundings beyond our control, or things we choose to go through if we want to achieve a greater goal. When this happens, mindset can again make the difference between having a good trip and a bad trip. If we're enthusiastic about reaching our goal, we'll go through whatever we must to get there. Failure, boredom, ugliness. But this doesn't mean we should discount the importance of the situations that we put ourselves in, especially when we do have a choice. How many of us remain in bad situations? A job we don't like, an unhealthy relationship, in negative patterns and so on, even though we know they're bringing us down. This is important because simply changing our minds doesn't change our circumstances. We can't really just think and grow rich, like a popular book says, or change our thoughts and change our lives, as Wayne Dyer said, at least not without following through with some sort of practical change. As important as mindset is, it only allows us to accept the circumstances we're in, not change them. If we want to change them, we have to take action by removing ourselves from the situation or by changing the situation itself. Habit is the root of habitat. Our habits are the things we dwell in. Our habits are where we live. Sometimes we find ourselves habitually in negative environments because of our bad habits. Not always. Realistically, again, we can't always control our circumstances, right? Because that gets to where we start blaming people for circumstances beyond their control, and you're never going to hear that in my sermons. But when we can, we should. We should choose, if we can, healthy, uplifting, nurturing places to be. Places that can make us more happy and content in the world. If not, even if circumstances don't allow us to work in our dream job or to live in our dream house or to share our lives with our dream lover, we can augment our practical realities by finding our happy place to visit now and then. We can find our Wally World or our Lowe's Home Center or some quiet place in the lakeside cabin or at a neighborhood park or at a neighborhood coffee shop, drinking something with a good friend or sitting alone in the recliner with a good book. Setting is important. Setting is vital. It's not enough to dream of going to heaven someday. We must create heaven for ourselves here on earth. We must be the change we wish to see, even if it is only in a spurt at the end of a long day, or during our lunch hour, or on the weekends. Find your happy, healthy place and go there as often as you can. Find a way to get away, even if you can't really go away. Now, if you haven't noticed, I've been using language like habit, good trips, bad trips, set and setting, as allusions to mind-altering experiences. This is so not because I'm into the illicit drug scene, which I'm not, never have been, but my own thinking around ministry has been influenced by my research and experiences in the realm of shamanism, which for many shamans includes journeying with the plant teachers like peyote and ayahuasca. Part of the shamanic tradition is seeking consciousness-expanding experiences. And these are accomplished by ingesting mind-altering compounds, but sometimes simply by chanting, or dancing, or meditating, or going for a walkabout or a vision quest, or entering a sweat lodge, drumming, dreaming, and so on. One of the easiest ways to have a mind-altering, consciousness-expanding experience is to simply expose ourselves to new ideas, including ideas we may not agree with. Here, set and setting is especially important. If we explore new ideas, no matter how different than our own, with curiosity, honesty, and open-mindedness, we might have a change of mind, or at least a change of heart towards those with whom we disagree. That's mindset. Setting is also important. If you're a liberal, I don't know if there's any in here, but let's just say, if you're a liberal and you're in a heated debate with a conservative, you might not feel as open-minded as you would be reading a conservative opinion piece, for example, with intention, while relaxing alone at home with a glass of wine or a cup of tea. If we want to expand our minds, whether considering opposing opinions or by studying a subject that we're just completely unfamiliar with, placing ourselves in a safe and inviting environment is important. When drugs are used recreationally, there's as good a chance of having a bad trip as a good trip. Taking LSD or psilocybin in a buddy's cluttered basement apartment just for kicks could result in some pretty frightening visions. That's why a shamanic journey must be undertaken with strict preparation of both body and mind. In the Huichol tradition, one must fast beforehand for almost a week and refrain from certain pleasures like sex, sugar, caffeine, and alcohol. One must also prepare the mind by meditating on one's intention. Why take the journey? What does one wish to achieve? When the time comes, one actually brings an intention arrow made with a pointed twig that you shave off at the tip and then wrap in colorful twine to plant in the ground, signifying, symbolizing your intention. Just as the fasting and other restraints are meant to show the seriousness with which one takes the journey and its intention, one also makes certain offerings to the plant teachers to prove one's utmost respect and seriousness. That sounds a lot different, doesn't it? There's nothing recreational about it. It must be treated as a sacred journey. It's mindset. In the world of hallucinogens, or entheogens, as they are called by religionists, set and setting are thus referred to often. They must be considered prior to any encounter with the plant teachers. The plant teachers, sometimes called plant spirits, must be honored and respected if one wishes to have a good trip. So both the intention one brings and the location that one brings it to are essential. In the book Spiritual Growth and Entheogens, Houston Smith says, in the old days, the bad acid trips were frequently as much from the lack of religious preparation as anything else. When users found themselves with their egos dying, they panicked. Nobody ever told them the dark night of the soul is a normal experience for those who stand naked before themselves and the universe. Even a dark night can be a good trip if one is spiritually prepared for it. Dr. Rick Strassman from the University of New Mexico conducted DMT research between 1990 and 1995, the first to do so since the Schedule I drug enforcement took place in the late 60s, resulting in over 500 DMT sessions conducted in room 531 at the University of New Mexico Hospital. Restricted only by hospital regulations, Strassman did everything he could to make that room the perfect setting for those volunteers receiving regular doses of dimethyltryptamine, that same molecule that is found in peyote, ayahuasca, and concentrated in LSD. The design needed to be relatively soothing, he said, but not so dull as to dampen or depress the volunteers' mood and perceptions upon opening their eyes. Another requirement was that it be consistent with the particular type of visual effects wrought by DMT, but not so stimulating that volunteers would be startled or disoriented looking at the furniture in their highly altered states. The best fit was a pleasing blue, suddenly multicolored with speckles, flecks, and patterns embedded within it. A solid light blue carpet and soothing pale blue paint covering the formerly white walls were the final pieces of the refurbishing effort. As you can tell from this description, setting was extremely important to Dr. Strassman. Likewise, before every session, he did what he could to help his subjects relax their minds, their mindset. When asked how he best relaxes, one subject said, "I usually breathe deeply and slowly. That's something I learned from my many years of meditation. Or I may touch these," he said, fingering his necklace of Tibetan prayer beads. Other volunteers might hold a fetish, a rock, or a piece of wood. Some might hum, sing, or chant. A few evoke the image of a teacher, friend, or loved one. Those with deep and sustained meditation practice started meditating before the DMT went in and tried to maintain that mental balance throughout the session. Again, as you can see, even in the most regulated and clinical of settings, set and setting are considered paramount. In his latest book, How to Change Your Mind, about what he calls psychedelics. Michael Pollan, author of bestsellers like Botany of Desire, The Omnivore's Dilemma, and Food Rules, talks about the serious danger of bad trips, but goes on to point out it's important to distinguish what can happen when these drugs are used in controlled situations without attention to set and setting from what happens under clinical conditions after careful screening and under supervision. Since the revival of sanctioned psychedelic research beginning in the 1990s with Rick Strassman, nearly 1,000 volunteers have been dosed, and not a single serious adverse event has been reported. But I began by talking about the Griswold family vacation because I don't want this to be a sermon about psychedelics, hallucinogens, entheogens, or whatever we might choose to call them. Not that there's anything wrong with that. Rather, in the same way, I recently used the story of Noah's Ark to talk about the pitfalls of utopian thinking, or the stories of Jesus' encounters with demon-possessed people to discuss demonizing others and how we should respond to those who have been demonized. The notion of set and setting is a religious principle that can be interpreted and applied to life in general. It's about working to have the right mindset and placing ourselves in positive environments in everyday life. It's a metaphor for how we can live our lives, how we can strive to live our lives. Let's say, for example, you go for a walk, or a run, or a ride, something that most of us do every day without much thought. While doing so, our minds are likely on a variety of things that don't have much to do with where we're at or where we're going. But imagine if, as with ingesting peyote, we prepare ourselves for the trip with some intention. This is precisely how I learned to use labyrinths, like the one we have on our property, by treating the labyrinth as an oracle, entering them with a specific concern on our mind, hoping to have some clarity by the time we're done. And it often comes. We can do the same thing just walking through the neighborhood, running through the park, driving our car through the countryside. We can look at all these actions and other ordinary things we do as a journey with intention. I like neighborhoods, parks, and country roads, so these are the settings that I've mentioned for such an undertaking. You can choose your own favorite locations based upon your level of mobility and preferences. Did you know that Socrates, Plato, and Aristotle all walked when they taught their students? As Edith Hall reminds us in her new book, Aristotle's Way, the traditional name for Aristotle's school of thought is peripatetic philosophy. The word peripatetic comes from the verb peripateo, which in Greek, both ancient and modern, means I go for a walk. This is an astonishing statement that a man who is considered one of the most influential philosophers in human history came upon his philosophy while walking. His entire philosophy was peripatetic. It's a walking philosophy. Aristotle was an empirical natural scientist as well as a philosopher of mind, Hall says, and his writing constantly celebrates this materiality of the universe when we can perceive through our senses and know is real. His biological works suggest a picture of a man pausing every few minutes as he walked to pick up a seashell, point out a plant, or call a pause in dialectic to listen to the nightingales. In doing so, Aristotle demonstrates the significance of both set and setting, of both intention and location. Of course, walking is just one example of something most of us do every day. But even those who aren't as mobile as others, or not as mobile as they used to be, can apply the practice of set and setting in other ordinary habits, like eating, or cooking, or reading, or doing yard work, or washing the car. Wax on, wax off. This is so because most of us ordinarily go through our days without much thought about what we're doing or where we're at. We move about by habit with little awareness. But practicing the principles of set and setting, and more of what we do, could make the difference between life itself being a bad trip or a good trip. Despite all the little problems, it's fun, isn't it? Clark Griswold asked Ellen. No, she says, but with every new day, there's fresh hope. Thank you.
Our final hymn today is a very personal one to me. Since I was a fairly young child, I found a way to have an altered mind-expanding experience by just stepping out my front door into the natural environment, which has always been very important to me. And if I feel too enclosed, I usually find that I haven't been outside enough. So that's one more great way to do what Todd is talking about. Please rise to sing our final hymn, number 4, I Brought My Spirit to the Sea.
May ours be a faith that is more than just beautiful words and high ideals. May ours be a faith that shines to the world as the light of deeds and the witness of actions. Amen. Blessed be. Salam alaikum and shalom.